Thank you, Ina. Hello, everybody. I am Elisantila Gazzi from Rush, Albanian NRN. I have been working for 5 years in the information technology field. I'm a senior system analyst, and I am responsible for our student management system, which records the entire career of the students. Today, together with my colleague Vangel, we are going to present some basic knowledge on GitLab. So let me pass to him to make an introduction to himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tila. Hello, everyone. My name is Vangel Stavro. I am the head of the software development department here at Rush. I've been writing code, leading teams, and delivering projects for the last 8 years. We've been working, and we're working on a daily basis with Git and GitLab, and I hope that our experience and what we have prepared today will give you good insight on how you can use Git and GitLab for further increasing your collaboration. Now we're going to share our screen, and we're going to switch off our video so you don't get too much distraction. Let's go to the overview of the webinar. We're going to talk about Git. We're going to give an introduction to Git. We're going to talk about the common working patterns on Git. Then we're going to jump to GitLab, an introduction to that, the features that it has, and then we're going with a live demo on how to set up an account or signing in, talking about groups projects, the activity, how you can monitor the activity in GitLab, issue tracking, and the wiki. GitLab is part of the WP9 Task 2 supporting tools project of GN43 Jean project. These tools are for your operation and offered for the Jean project needs. These tools are as the following, as you can see in the table. Jira, Bamboo, and Bitbucket is a tool set from Atlassian that have been widely recognized as the tool supporting professional software development processes. Then we have SonarQube, which is for quality assurance and for continuous quality inspection. GitLab, Git is a repository manager providing wiki, issue tracking, and continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline features. JFrog Artifactory is a universal artifact repository manager that supports software packages created by any language or technology. Then we have a QA testbed, virtual machines for development and testing purposes. For more information, you can always visit software.jumps.org. Now, let's start on Git. What is Git? Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. And what do we mean by version control system? The most important thing that you have to take from this combination of words is that it keeps track of every commit that you do into your project. Every file change that you commit, it keeps track for you. The advantages of Git is that it's a distributed model. It has a high performance and is quite flexible for implementing different workflows with your team, as well as it's fast. A big disadvantage that we do not suggest and we highly discourage is do not use Git for binary files. So if you have any, let's say, Photoshop files or Illustrator files that are not text-based, it's not a good option to use Git on that. What are the common patterns of working with Git? Now, suppose that you have a working directory and you want to share this working directory with your colleagues. In the beginning, you have to set up your repository, and then you have to execute the command git add. That places everything that you add to a staging area. Then you have to commit to your local repository. Git, since it's distributed, always has a local repository where it keeps track of every change that you commit, and has a remote repository, which everyone can access. Nobody can access your local repository, but everyone can access your remote repository as soon as you give them permission to do so. So after you do git commit, everything goes to your local repository, and nobody can see your new changes. In order for the others to see the new changes, you have to do git push, and that sends everything to your remote repository. Now, if Alice has already been working on a project and she pushes her project online, then Ben has to do git clone to clone the repository and git pull in order to get the new changes that Alice has committed. These are some common commands on Git. Let's jump to a workflow, common workflow pattern. Now, this is another big power, let's say, strength of Git branching. It makes it very easy for doing branching. And what would be a benefit of branching? Suppose that we have a master branch. In fact, every time that you create a project on Git, it has a master branch, and that's the default branch. Usually development teams keep the master branch for production ready software. So everything here gets intact and it works for sure. Now suppose that we have Ben in a team and he has to implement a new feature. Now that feature might take, let's say, 3 months to implement. So if Ben works on the master branch, he might have destructive changes, and while he's working on the master branch, a customer can come in and say, hey guys, I have a bug, could you help me fix that? Now, in order to have the code running again, you either have to revert back to what Ben has done, so destroy his work and fix the bug, and that is, let's say, a destructive operation, so you destroy what Ben has done and he has to write it again, or make a copy of that, but that doesn't work on Git. So what we usually do is that Ben creates a branch, and that's a new feature branch or a development branch. And that branch, what it does is it creates a clone of the actual working copy. And it's a parallel clone, and that makes sure that the main branch where the working code remains intact. So Ben can work with his feature, and he can move, he can push, he can implement, and everything goes to the new branch. When the development team believes, or let's say they are confident that Ben's code works, they can merge everything from the new feature to the master branch, and the customer can have the new feature immediately. Now, GitLab. GitLab is a single application for the entire software development lifecycle, and that includes Git. What is that? GitLab has Git in its core business, let's say, but it's wrapped up, it's covered with many additional features. So GitLab helps you from project planning, then it can help you to continuous integration, continuous delivery. It has also a wiki for documentation. It also has a Docker registry if you want to go even further. Now, it's demo time. So let's start with our GitLab account. I'm going to move over my page here. So in order to access the production-ready GitLab server that Jean has made available for you, you have to go to gitlab.jean.org. I'm going to use my federated authentication to sign in. Okay, so here I'm into my GitLab account. As you can see, I have projects, groups, which we're going to talk in a bit, and here is my profile. Now, let's talk about groups and projects. What are groups and what are projects? Usually in a development environment, you might have an application that has to be a web application, it has to be a mobile application, and a server application, or a backend application. In order to do that, these three projects, they have to be on a separate repository because you cannot develop them all in one project. So you can use groups from GitLab to collect all your repositories under one group. And then you can use projects which are similar to repository. Let's go and create our first group. Okay, let's go and new group. Okay, awesome group I'm going to write here. This is the group path. It has to be a unique one because you can access it from there. Then I can put the description. And then here I can also put an avatar, but let's jump to the visibility level because this is very important. Every project that is part of your group inherits all the rights that the group has. So if I choose to have this as a private group, then all my projects that are part of this group are going to be private. If I pick it to be internal, it's going to be internal and public, but public has been disabled by default here. So let's go and create our awesome private group. Okay, this is my awesome group interface here. Now, I'm going to pick a member and add a member to my group. So I would like to add my colleague Elisa Antilla. As you can see here, I can always pick a role. If I pick a guest role, then Elisa Antilla can just check the code and probably write some files, write some wiki pages, or raise an issue, as well as the same as a reporter. If I make her a developer, then she can actually commit and push code, make actual changes to my code, to my project. If I make her an owner, then she has full potential as I have on this group. If you would like to read more about, in a more detailed, always more detailed table on the permissions, you can always click on read more and view the permissions here, which gives you all the permissions that you can apply. So I'm going to add Elisa Antilla as a developer to my group, and I'm going back to my main group page. Now, I would like to start and create my first project. So let's go here and click New Project. What is a project in GitLab? A project in GitLab equals to a repository in Git. In, let's say, development lingo, a repository usually equals to an actual project. So you can, if you, as I said before, if you can have a mobile application, a front-end application, and the server backend application that integrate together, you need 3 projects. Hence, you need 3 repositories. Now, I can always, let's say, write here my first project, and I can assign it to which group I want. I can assign it to my awesome group, my test group, or probably immediately to a user. But I'm going to assign it to my awesome group. And my visibility level here, as you can see, is private and I cannot change it. Okay, I created my first project. I'd like to show you how you can import a project from an external service. So let's go to my project again. I can create a new project, the same feature here, and I can import a project. I can import a project from another GitLab instance. I can import a project from GitHub, Bitbucket, and as you can see, all the other services. Let's pick to import a project from GitHub. I happen to have a repository on GitHub, and I'm going to move that to that here. I've already signed into my repository, and it's a public repository that I use for useful scripts that I need, but I cannot remember them by heart. So in order to share, or let's say, make my repository exportable for GitLab and have GitLab import it, I have to provide a token. So as you can see here, I have to provide a personal access token. And in order to do that, I have to go to settings in my GitHub profile and go to developer settings. There, I can have to click on personal access tokens, and I can delete my actual one, and I can generate a new token. Here I can put a note, let's say GitLab import token, and then here I can pick the scope of the permissions that I want to provide for this token. I can pick have it admin rights, public key, repo hook if I would like, pretty much everything. I don't want to give it access to delete my repo, so I'll just skip that and pick everything. Now I can generate the token. Okay, so this is my token. Just make sure that you keep this safe and don't give to anyone. So I'm going to copy it, personal access token, I share it here, and I can click now and wait for GitLab to get my GitHub repositories. Okay, so these are all my GitHub repositories. And what I want to import, I want to import my scripts repository. So I can just click here, import. And the procedure is starting. Okay, and now we're done. If I click here, as you can see, I can immediately see my repository that has been imported into my GitLab account. And pass to Elisa Antilla to talk about issues, issue tracking, and project management.
Hello again. Right now we are going to show tools that will help you and your team with project management. So let's suppose we are a team of software developer and we have to develop new feature for a university or a company what we are working for. So we are to plan our project, how we can plan it. We can plan by starting using milestone. Milestone is a way to track your project and also are a way to give priority to the issues. A permission level of my developer or higher is required to create a milestone. So just click new milestone. Here we can add a title. So let's suppose we have our first important release. It will be a release of our project, release version 1.0. Here we can add a description if we want. So my important release. Here we can add the start date. So it will start today and we have to finish it in a month. So 10th of June. And then we can just add, we can also preview because we are using Markdown. We can preview our description. So that's here and click create milestone. So here we have also labels, which are a way are small tags to our issues and also give you a better overview of our projects. So here we can generate a default set of labels by clicking that. Here we are. And if you want to add more, we can click new label. So let's suppose DevOps. Here we can add description if you want, and here also a background color, this one, and click create label. So here you can add as much as you want labels, of course, and let's go on to boards. Boards, it will be your best friends, we say, because in this way we can track and see what is going on with your project, what is going on with your issues, and who is working on these issues and where is the deadline and so on. So here we can add default list. If we want to add more, it is such a kind of Scrum approach, so board. It will also show a list of issues you have just created. We didn't create any issue till now, so let's create an issue for this project and new issue. Here we can add a title. So suppose we are working for university, as I said in the beginning, and we have to set a background or logo for the university. So set the new logo, I suppose, for the universities. Universities. Here we can add a description, modify the actual one. Sorry, the actual one. Okay, here you can use also Markdown feature. Here we can assign to somebody. So you can assign to me, to myself, or to somebody else. I can assign to my colleague, Vanjel. We created just a milestone. We can add this issue to that milestone, or we can just from here create another milestone, but I want to put it here at my first release, my important release, and also we can put a label to this. I think it will be back. Or we can put it later or just here. And click Submit Issue. We can just upvote or downvote an issue, a colleague of us or me. So just click here, and here we can add a comment. So for public, I mean, yeah, universities. and comment. Yeah, we can here also modify something that we put it in this issue. And then that's all. We can also create another issue here. New issue, so import data from all data. All database. Yeah. Here assigned to myself or assigned to me just. Yeah. We can add milestone, put a label if you want a label, due date also, and submit issue. Let's go on to board to see what is going on there. Yeah, we have just 2 issues that we have just created. So if somebody is working on this issue, I can move it to do by just drag and drop, sorry. And if somebody is working on it, you can put it from one state to another, from to do to doing. And then if everything is done, we can put it to close. And we said that everything is okay with this issue. If somebody has something to review in this issue, we can just turn it back to doing or review. We can add another list here, review, and then just to work on this issue again, or just put it in close. Yeah, if somebody else is working on another issue, do it the same, just drag and drop it from one state to another. Okay, we have just created another project just to see a lot of issues that we have just created, and another view of the board. Just let me find it. Yeah, it's another project with a lot of issues just created, but here you can see we just put it labels to each issue. So if this issue is a discussion or documentation, we can put it labels to it. Yeah, we can also upvote and downvote, and as you said, we can add also a comment to our issue. Another thing that I wanted to mention today is Wiki. Suppose Wiki as a part of your documentation for the project, and we just click on create your first Wiki page. It will be home. You can use, of course, Markdown format. Here we can add content as my first Wiki page. So we can add a commit message, of course, and then create page. If you want to create another page for documentation for your project, click new page, and then you have a page flag, which will be the URL of your project, of your Wiki page, of course. So my second Wiki page, create. You can add content, my awesome Wiki page. We can add a commit message, of course, and then create page. Part, you can see a history of what you have created till now, a list of your Wiki page that you have created till now. If you want to add more, just click new page and do it. Okay, thank you. If you have any question for this part, I have just explained, put it on chat room, please, and then we can discuss and answer this question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tila. Now, I'll just go for a quick overview of what we discussed. We discussed about Git and how you can use Git to keep track of the changes to the files, and then you can push them on GitLab. On GitLab, you can create projects and groups and move all your projects into groups. The good thing about this is that you can keep track of your activity and see how everything has been developed. Another advantage of GitLab is issues. You can use the issues for project management, and you can put labels in there to keep a tag on each one of them. And you can also apply sort of a Scrum method of development by having the boards here and defining what has to be done for each sprint and what is being done. If you move them to closed, they are just closed, as well as having milestones. And you can see like, okay, we have a milestone that is 100% complete, and we have a milestone which is 25% complete. GitLab also has a wiki which provides help for having your documentation or keeping track of your documentation to the project. Then, as you can see here, GitLab has many other features like continuous integration and continuous deployment, but they are not part of the scope of this webinar. For following up, we strongly recommend that you install Git, generate your keys, and try with your GitLab .org account. In order to learn more, you can always visit the links that we have here for Git and GitLab. Everything that we have discussed today is already online, which you can view in more detail with screenshots and text. We'd like to thank you for attending, and please address any questions that you might have. We're going to switch our video on again now, so we can
have a few questions in the chat room. I'll start with Emma. Her question was first, why no passphrase? Emma, if you would like to chip in, just unmute your microphone. And if anyone asks any questions and you would like to clarify, guys, just unmute your microphones. But this is first questions we have. Why no passphrase?
Yeah, that was in relation to the SSH. Somebody did respond to say that you do have to specify name and email, and that's okay, but that doesn't explain why you also wouldn't want to add an SSH passphrase. You said it would make things more difficult?
Yes. Now, the advantage of using SSH is that makes the whole experience, Git experience, very smooth. If you use an SSH key, it's difficult to hack. So it's good not to use a passphrase, because every time you commit and push, and that happens very often during the day, you might have like even 50 commits per day, it would require you every time to use a passphrase. Yes, someone is typing here SSH agent, you can have your passphrase there and have it stored there, which would smooth it even more. But we thought of not going too technical on including that. So if you are very concerned about security, you can have a passphrase, but every time you're going to do a commit or push, you are going to need to add the passphrase. That is the reason that because we believe it's already, let's say, secure enough as it is.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Then there was a question. About actually getting access to GitLab.org account. I'll leave it on the side in a minute. I just go to a question from Alan about, does it flag a missed milestone?
In fact,
I was wondering how much support there was for kind of automated things within it to help you if you were managing your little project.
Yeah. Now, GitLab also can send automated emails, but it can flag a missed milestone if it's not 100% on the due date that you set. It can do that, so it does flag it. I'm not very sure if it does send you an email, a reminder. I think it does not send you a reminder. I can check into that, but it does flag a missed milestone. So if it's over the due date and it's not 100%, or if the issue is over the due date and it's not closed, you'll see a red date color there saying that you are late on this one.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, and if you can clarify getting access to gitlab.org, creating accounts, I believe that I can see the exchange of emails in the chat room. Whether it goes to you, maybe Shimon, you can clarify the situation.
Hello, Marcin Wolski speaking. Let me perhaps handle this question on behalf of Shimon. I'm the work package 9 task 2 reader. And yes, indeed, the accounts are locked by default. And the settings was somehow was set in order to prevent abused access to the GitLab instance. Let's say people who are not the Giant project members and, for example, have the social accounts, they can, in theory, access the GitLab and in an authorized way. That's why the GitLab administrator sets locking account by default. But I think we will handle it, and sooner or later we will, by default, allow the access for every federated user by default, without having the necessity to lock or unlock accounts.
If I can add something, we are now waiting for the GitLab license for the Enterprise Edition version, so it will be easier for us to manage the accounts, and also we will provide more feature from the Enterprise Edition. So we'll inform all the developers about the new instance when it will be ready.
Okay. We will, after the webinar, we will circulate a brief summary with the useful links like the recorded version of the webinar and contact details of the presenters. And any further updates, you can either get in touch with people directly or you will get a notification one way or the other. Just one more question, I think from Stefan, about the feature set on gitlab.gian.org. Is this the free edition or something better like Ultimate?
I think Martin is answering the question on the chat. So it actually is the free edition, but we're about to install the Ultimate version there.
Thank you very much. Any further comments, questions, considerations? Got 5 minutes. I put in the chat the contact email addresses for Vangel and Elisantilla and Marcin for quick reference if it's needed. So if, as I said, if you will think of any further questions, I'm sure the guys will be happy to maintain the dialogue. I'll start a new conversation. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments maybe from Marcin? Do you want to say anything, Marcin?
Well, I can, let's say, thank you very much to you, Irina, and say my acknowledgements for helping us and supporting us professionally in delivering these trainings, this webinar. Thank you very much. Many thanks.
Thank you to everyone. It was really a pleasure. It's a truly collaborative effort. And it really was genuinely, on my part, a pleasure to work with such gifted and talented people. So I would love to do it again.
We should do a webinar on Bitbucket and Jira this time.
Yeah, well, let's do webinars.
I'm not. And thank you, Santila, thank you, Vangel. It was a great webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for participating and taking time to follow this webinar. I hope it was insightful enough and gave you sort of a hint and pushed you to use more of these collaborative tools.